And we're back.
We're back.
Back and better than ever.
Hello again, our friends.
Hello, just checking in. Ed over here.
Who am I, Eddie? Hi, I'm Eddie. I think.
Ed with two D's. I guess I'll be Ed with two D's.
No.
I don't think that's gonna catch on.
No, I don't think so either.
I just do a little bit of posting, a little bit of texting, honestly.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta do. I know people in the industry. That's all I'm gonna tell you. But, so
That's all we got to say about that.
we actually got a lot to say about a lot today, though.
We do.
We do.
That's just all we got to say about that.
But we got a lot to say about the other thing, though. All right, I'm doing.
All right,
I'm
let's
sorry.
start.
I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. I'm just super stoked. I'm ready to be back. Another opportunity, obviously, to just grow the pod, talk about it, and just get our ideas out, on camera, and potentially answer some questions. But I want to actually, ask that question. But before I want to do that, I want to give you guys, I guess, a little fact from a source that shall remain nameless and a site that shall remain nameless because I just don't remember them. But 58% of Americans consider themselves lonely. So
That's
in a
sad.
way, we're not alone. See what I'm saying? If most of us feel.
Yeah.
Not the point. But no, in just further reading, it seems as if mainly the cause is because the workplace has just been growing to more and, less and less, face-to-face interaction, and face-to-face talking. And, obviously I can play a big, a part in everything. But my question for you guys is, in today's society, how can we, just be better to make that number start to drop, and go down? What are some things we could do better?
Yeah, I mean, funny thing, just what comes to my mind real quick to kind of add to that is just, I think that's why podcasts have actually become so big, during the pandemic time, is because people, they were trapped in their house and, didn't have interaction. This gives you close to that, especially with the live features and things. But I think that's just one small piece that has kind of blown up kind of during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know even times when I feel lonely and I'm driving somewhere that's an hour away. I'll listen to a podcast and a lot of podcasts are they're talking to you and I'm I'm talking to my friends. I'm these people don't know me, but
Right.
feels like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think just small things, I feel people forget a lot about the small things. Even if someone's lonely, I try, if I see people and I'm oh, cute outfit, or you look really nice today. Especially strangers, I feel I mean, that's not gonna combat their loneliness entirely, but it'll definitely help a little because they feel more seen, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you feel like you were essentially raised that way?
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so.
But the reason I ask is because this is the main thing we wanted to talk about, and really just segueing into is just just the nature versus nurture. You know what I'm saying? And how does it truly affect us as humans?
Mm-hmm.
What's your guys' take on it?
Yeah, I think just to add to what Liv was saying real quick though, just in terms of the people feeling seen, I think it's important just to spread that hope. And I like how you added just especially with strangers. It's important obviously to take care of the people we love around us, but I forget how it's said, but it's if we're only nice to people that are nice to us, what good really is that? Being kind is being kind to everybody, you know, and not necessarily fighting fire with fire, but fighting fire with kindness. So yeah, I think that's important. But in terms of what we wanted to talk about with just nature versus nurture, Liv, I'm curious to hear a lot of your thoughts on this too, but just really kind of wanted to break down what they are in terms of, what I mean, nurture, obviously being care,
Mm-hmm.
from a young age and being cared for, and what that means to learning how to care for ourselves and how well we're able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And just also our nature, what that kind of stems from, because my initial thought is, I guess, that a lot of my nature can stem from, the amount of nurture that I've that I put into, nurture is more of our responsibility as we get older.
Yeah.
We have more control over that than just the nature and environment we're around. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I think it affects people a lot, especially how they react in certain situations, because it's crazy. I was actually having a talk with my therapist actually about this, but like as like a child and like those childhood experiences, when something similar happens to you as an adult, you kind of revert back to your responses. So like if you feel like you're being abandoned, and if you were abandoned as a child, like it could be something so small, but it reminds you of that circumstance and you like react that way. And then but I also feel like there's such a fine line, because some people are over nurtured, and then also some people are like too abandoned. So I feel like you have to find like the right balance of independence, but also caring for your child, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. It's funny you say that, because so I was talking to my lawyer today, and she was just saying, like, even today and in 5 years moving forward, people are still gonna blame things on COVID, like, oh, that's just because of COVID, yada yada. And she's like, people fail to see like the actual benefits that came from COVID. You know what I'm saying? And she listed off a couple of them, and I don't know them, I don't remember them or anything, but I was just thinking that it's like, and I say to say, like, it really is just like goes back to like, what do you believe? You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's so true. What you believe literally determines essentially your limit. Because when I think of nature and I think of nurture, I think of like, okay, how are you raised, and then like, where was your environment? You know what I'm saying? Like, not necessarily what was your environment? And like, it's. For me, I think because like if I don't initially take that first jump to come out to Pittsburgh with LEI home enhancements, I don't think I hit the levels that I'm hitting now. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's very, very important. So I guess I ramble and say, like, I think it's very important. Like, nurture is obviously a lot of who we are and make up a lot of just our characteristics, our passions, etc. But I think it's very important to like with your nature, like, to experiment. You know what I'm saying? And like, take chances. And that's the biggest thing I want to say, is do it scared. It's going to be scary because it's something you've never really seen, and anything we've never seen is obviously scary, but do it scared. And it's just always so interesting in terms of like which one though truly affects the person the most. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because now that you said that, I don't know, it kind of like sparks something in my mind. A lot of the people I know that stay in the town that they were like raised in, I feel like their parents did the same.
Yeah.
Like, and then a lot of people that I know that like moved around, like their parents also moved around. So I feel like you kind of get it from your parents. Not to say that you can't like break the generational or whatever, but like a lot of people that I know that stay in their town and just kind of keep like comfortability is because they saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of that goes into just with the nature and the nurture of their family values, and like being close, and like, because I know I just never traveled a lot, I'm of that. And I said a long time too, like, like I had a great environment growing up, I always said like I'm too good almost, because I never had a lot of adversity or anything like that from an environment. I remember saying like, man, a lot of my friends were going through some stuff, and I was like, why, I don't know, like why them kind of, I wish I could help them, like just the feeling for them, like they didn't deserve those situations, you know what I mean? And there was really nothing in my situation going on like that, and I didn't understand it for a long time, but I think it does. I mean, you gotta be in those. It's what came to my mind is, I think Jay, you were talking, was just the getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and you gotta grow through those. Like you can definitely just build a life of comfortability, kind of like you were talking about, and be okay. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Just if it's built on love, like because that's what matters. So if you build a comfortable, happy life, like that's great. And if you want to go out and travel and find different environments and grow through that rather than it's just all about, like you said too, just the perspective of it. And Kaylee and I had a conversation about that the other day. It was just more or less like, how do we say it? Like the difference between like punishments and attacks, you know what I mean? Like on your spirit and things like that. And it's like, the key is almost like when you have to stop viewing punish or suffering as a punishment and just as like one of those nature things where it's like, you know, this is from God to grow me and, you know what I mean, become for those promises. And you know, like we've been talking about, the greater the battle, you know, the greater the promise. And it's just about growing through it. But I think that leads into just tie it into nature, without me babbling on for too long. It's just, you know, a lot of when growing up, you know, nature's not really, or nurture's not really on our hands as much as it is in who's taking care of us. And then that rubs off by nature on, you know, how we take care of ourselves. But as we grow up, you talked a lot, or not a lot, but touched on the generational curses, which came to mind ironically for me too. But it's just more on us to take that responsibility on us. It's just like the difference of, like the meme or whatever's out there. It's like, I'm an alcoholic because my dad was an alcoholic, or like I've never had a drink because my dad was not, you know, like there's two different views but same root, you know. And it's just taking accountability and preparation, execution, and care from there, for your own life, but and then changing your nature from there. You know, that's all I want to talk about it, like what that can do in terms of your character development and personality traits. And
for lack of better questions, why do you guys feel like not a lot of people just take that jump? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to say seek uncomfortability, but essentially, you know, seek uncomfortability and like truly understand that, you know, that's where growth comes in, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of people are scared. I think a lot of it roots from fear, but I also think like a lot of people are like, I guess they follow it by example. So like if they've never seen it done before, I feel like there's where like fear roots from, because they're like, okay, I've never seen it done before. Like, how am I gonna do it if I have no example in front of me? So I mean, I feel like that's part of it, and also just like some people are, I guess, okay with being comfortable. Like it's kind of all they want. They're just content. So I feel like fear and comfortability is just like a big part of it.
Yeah, and it's and that's so true. Because the whole time I'm thinking like it's such a, seeing is believing. You know what I'm saying? There's so much power in seeing. Like I think of all the time, like you know, I drink a lot of water, but there's so many times, you know, I gotta use the restroom, right? Gotta, you know, drain it and whatnot, and just like I tell myself I won't make it, and I always make it right at that right time. And the point I'm getting at is I know exactly where the bathroom is, exactly the time I'm gonna be. Like I can see it all, so I see that end goal. So just to even have that end goal, that end of the tunnel there, like, you know, in your perception is very, very important. You know, that's what keeps people going. And why I say seeing is believing is because if you come from a place where you've never seen that, you know, that's where it goes right back to that belief is limited. So you're gonna, you know, just almost not falter back, and but essentially, you know, you're gonna stay comfortable. But that's why I was so like intrigued, honestly, myself, to like get out and move and come out here, because like it's wild. My family originally, I guess they're in Cincinnati, that's where they're from. My mom stayed in Cincinnati, but her brothers, her siblings, they all kicked up and left, you know. And just to be 100%, I was like, I seemed like almost a level like of success that they got this, you know, it's essentially experience, you know. And don't get me wrong, my mom experienced a lot of success too, but I was just like, I wonder what that's like. And like that was just a huge, essentially kicking my butt for like, you don't know what's out there, just go and, you know, jump in that pool and swim, you know. But I think it's very, very important though, always to just make sure you're aware of like where you want to go, what you want to do, and what do you believe, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna say, is I think it's just understanding, because I mean, nobody can really answer that question except for the person whose situation, you know, that we're referring to, because I think it really just goes back to not everybody feels called to go out and do so. And like I led with, I mean, that's okay, you know. Like my sister comes to mind, and thinking about that, just with like her whole life she knew she wanted to be a teacher. Like I don't think she felt called to go anywhere, you know what I mean? And like she goes on vacations and does stuff like that and like lives life, but she just, her life was always rooted in our hometown, and not in like a, oh, I'm stuck here way, but like how can I make my hometown better kind of way in terms of like being a teacher and not like coming over to PA and teaching here because they get paid better and kind of deal. So yeah, I think it's just different, and like you touched on a little bit, just on what you feel called to do. And I don't think everyone feels called to, and that's just like, what do you really desire? Like, some people desire more to do more externally, have more externally, and some people just want to have more internally. Some people want to find the balance both, and that's the beauty of life, is we're all allowed to walk that way, as long as we're putting our higher power first.
We need to get a sister in here on the podcast,
because I mean, the other side of that is like, I mean, my pap, God rest his soul, just passed away, but like, he lived a full life, 100 years old, born 1924, like saw the Great Depression, fought World War II, got his pilot's license for a single engine plane, like, taught for a lot of years, and I mean, just did a lot. But like, when we talked about him, he never spent any money, never see him at like a basketball game or like a soccer game or anything like that. But he had those values, and that was his life. And that was the beautiful thing to see this weekend, was just the legacy. Like, you talk about leaving a legacy. Like, he didn't go anywhere. Like, he went over to Italy to fight, and then he came right back to Fallensby. He never left this area and the impact he made here. So it's not. I think, just to wrap up what I'm saying, I don't think it's a matter of how far you go in terms of an earthly view, but it's the impact you leave where you're at. It's the big thing, and just having those perspectives.
I agree. I think it has a lot to do with as well, like where your passion lies, and kind of like you're saying, what you feel like you're meant to do in your life. And I think also like part of it too is like, I feel like this is like a toss-up, because like I feel like some people that maybe saw struggle growing up are those people that are like, okay, I'm gonna move around and I'm gonna make this better, like I have to get it better. Or sometimes I feel like they fall into the comfortability. I don't know, it's such a toss-up. It's really kind of like you're saying, over whatever you're passionate about and whatever is what you really want to do.
And just to touch on that, and a little bit about your pap, man. The only thing I'm thinking, real G's, man. Real G's move in silence, and like I wish I had an opportunity to meet that guy. Like I really, really do. But what I was saying on what you were saying, now honestly, it completely lost what I was about to say, honestly. But I don't think it'll come to me. I really. Oh no, that's what I was gonna say. And why I said like why we should get your sister on here, because it always almost fascinates me when like I see people like your sister, and then another example like the sports athletes that you see from like the little or the home videos. I'm gonna be an NBA player, like real young. Doc Rivers back in. But long story short, like how people essentially know they're calling that soon and are able to fulfill it. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, like a large part wasn't just like finding, my passions and callings. It was understanding like essentially that I'm strong enough to, when life hits me, not let life hit me and have to now plan, okay, how can I get back at life? But when life hits me, realize life is really just hitting me to set me up so I can actually do something pretty big, you know what I'm saying? And like, cause I was super passionate about like, sports. And like hit me in terms of how much work that's gonna take to get there, and I mean, I can put that work in. But back then I couldn't, is what I'm getting at. And like, for people to have the vision early and then to just do it, hats off, man. Committed. I mean, especially teachers.
Just to touch on that, like my best friend Alyssa, she goes to Xavier right now, and she's going to be a teacher, and like she's always said since we were young, like we were best friends growing up, she wants to be a teacher. Like I feel like teachers are one of those where like kind of like you're saying, like they're young, they're like, I want to be a teacher, and boy do they do it. Like I wish I had that. I don't.
Pay our teachers more.
True. Amen. Yeah, pay the teachers better.
Fix the healthcare system too. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, she was putting me through school when I was like 2. I mean, that's why I always joked around, so that's why I hated school. I did it too early. I should have graduated sooner. I did 4 years too long. Should have been a doctor. Yeah, I mean.
You were getting homeschooled after school.
Yeah. I mean, it's just having that vision, I mean, and that's the thing. It's just really having. You're right. That's why I wanted to talk about this. They both just go into like what are your values, and like that's really what
Mhm.
the continuous and never-ending improvements around is like how do we improve? It's really checking our values and making those little adjustments to get better every day and being honest with ourselves about what they are.
And taking risks. Sorry, I have to add it. Taking risks and making mistakes, because that's literally how we grow.
Yeah.
That's the only way we're going to find out how we can improve in each area is like finding out, taking a risk.
No risk, no reward.
Amen. No risk, no reward. But, all right, some solution searching. Who wants to start us off on this one?
I can start us out here, I guess, because something I'm doing right now, I've been taking a hard look lately at like just character defects from like even early on in life, really just my whole life, and kind of looking at situations, instead of kind of like how I mentioned earlier with like, stop looking at suffering as punishment, and just the situation, because that again is where you find growth. When you stop looking at it as punishment, you look at it as like, hey, well, just another obstacle that you can grow through rather than let it beat you down. But really all I'm getting at is just looking at those character defects, and rather than, what was wrong with the situation, like what was wrong with me and how I handled the situation, and just kind of approach that with everything, you know what I mean? And stop blaming situations, whether it be nature or nurture, to not let that be an excuse, but just to understand which is which, and then to, like I mentioned at the start, just nurtures what we have the control over more. I mean, I guess nature too, if you need to take yourself out of an environment if it gets that bad, but just to take control for what you can control and go from there, rather than blaming past nature and nurture. Kind of look at it as, okay, well, how can I care for myself, whether that be taking yourself out of the situation or really whatever it is for the individual.
Yeah, honestly that's great, because it all starts with recognition, honestly. Like nobody's ever going to change if they don't think anything's wrong with the situation, but along with it, of course, you do have to give yourself a level of grace, because I mean, you're going to react if you think it's like a similar situation, but actually being able to sit back and realize like, okay, is it the situation, is it me, like it's huge. So that's really inspiring to hear, because I'm trying to do the same thing where I'm like, okay, I can't like blame everything on how I grew up or how past friendships and relationships went. Like I have to sit down at a point and be like, okay, it's me, like I need to fix my reactions.
Yeah, and I think I agree, because I'm in a very similar headspace, and the best way to put it, but it goes literally hand in hand with what you were saying, and it's literally so wild, but just in terms of like, and one thing I wanted to say on yours is like, it also takes, what I'm getting at is some confidence, you know what I'm saying? Like you've got to have, and how do you get confidence? Just because I feel like we should start there, because obviously continuous and never-ending improvement comes from building something, right? So you got to get your hands a little dirty, you got to just build something, but when you have that confidence to know, like, yeah, I'm in that building stage, I'm in that building process, and the quote-unquote shade or, things that come to you, the things that you hear, it almost is a little bit easier to hear them, you know what I'm saying, and actually use them as just, avenues to grow. But the one thing I was getting at, and like the way I see it, because I'm a big, I'm in the game, I'm very competitive, and I can't remember where I heard it, but I heard it somewhere, but it's so true. If someone says something about you, whether they're the only one to say it, the first one to say it, and it's like, it does not matter whether you think it's true, clearly there's some, I don't want to say some sort of like trueness to it, but there's something there, you know what I'm saying? Because clearly you impacted that person, that they felt like they could share that with you, you know what I'm saying? So I say that to say, that's why, that confidence in knowing like, hey, I'm growing, is very important, because when that happens, you're not like, nobody else says that, that's not me, because that's me. I'll be real with you guys. Camera too, like I'm one of those people, like you're the only person that tells me that, like, so thank you, no, your opinion does not matter, but like realistically, we're here to, impact all the people around, and it's no surprise that I'm around people that have different, viewpoints than I am. But that's the biggest thing I'll say, think of it as a game, same. You know, everything anybody says, remember, you're growing. You know, nobody's perfect. They're definitely not perfect either. You know, and just think of like, how could you control that? You know, how can you be better there? And I love hearing that you're there. And yeah, let's play this game. Let's see how far this game gets us. But amen.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think society makes it hard though too, because like, you know, we always hear growing up like, oh, girls will be girls and boys will be boys, and oh, that's just who they are, and like you have to remove those boundaries from yourself. And I feel like that's where you start, is being like, okay, like maybe I was raised this way, maybe I learned this way, but like I can change. It's not just, oh, it's who I am. Like, you can always grow. There's always room for growth and recognition. So
Amen.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It just starts with, I think someone said it, just acknowledging it. You know what I mean? What can be controlled? I think people spend a lot of time doing that. Like, that's just who they are, and or just like they want to control and change other people and situations around them, rather than saying like, oh, maybe, you know, the one thing you can change is your own reaction to it, and you know, become okay with that. And yeah, it really just comes down to you got to stop with the insanity of trying to control things that you can't control, you know, that you're never meant to control, and control what you are meant to control, and leave the rest up to God and go from there.
I think it's very important for everybody to, like, you know, I'd say even daily, but make sure there's 5, 10 minutes to yourself where you are just, personally just going over, I don't want to say affirmations, but essentially affirmations, reassuring you are who you are, and you are in yourself. And like, it may sound crazy a little bit, but like, no, it all just adds up and builds. And you guys know it, you spend time in it, it's gonna grow. But all that does is like opens up your cup for more opportunities for growth. And like, I just think that's just something I've been doing a little bit more and more recently, and I've seen like just a huge effect, a huge effect. And now it's like, again, that's why it's like an exciting part. And like, I've shared with you guys, it's gonna be like a challenging season coming ahead, and I'm just like, what's gonna happen? Because you hit the nail on the head. The harder the season, the bigger the blessing, so I'm like, okay, God's got something, and I'm just like, what is it gonna be? And one other thing I wanted to share on this is like, you shared a video, and he said it, and I can't remember the video, you might be able to help me, but and we actually did a topic on it, but like the fulfillment and like the enjoyable part of life comes from you building to be the person you want to be. That fun max high spot isn't at the end, when you're just retired and you're like, what do I do with my time now? It's also obviously not at the start where you're figuring out what the heck you want to do, but it's like in that process to be the best you can be, you know what I'm saying? And it's just interesting time right now, and excited to share it with the people, right? Excited to share it with the people, bring them along. But
yeah, I mean, just to that point, I mean, for a good perspective, just again with my grandfather, I mean, to leave a legacy like that, you gotta do a lot of things that people not only not want to do, but living to 100 don't always do, you know what I mean? Which is grateful for that, but just in terms of going through the Depression, something not anybody ever dreams or wants to do, fighting in World War II or any war, not something you really is a dream. You do it, and that's why we're thank you for your service, everybody out there. But yeah, it's just, you got to do things that are hard. You do the hard things, is the big thing.
Well, a positive note, and I think we're just going to keep it around this topic. A positive note is going to be hard, but the positive thing is it's going to be hard for everybody. And everybody has that decision to make, whether they want to, obviously grow through that, or just go through that, if that makes sense. You can coast or you can grow. It's really your decision, but growing does take risk. And the positive thing, though, is that no matter what, we all, and if you're watching it, we all have what we need. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be scary, and it's going to feel like we don't, but I'm telling you, like, you have what you need to take that next step, and I tell you, do it. I tell you, jump. That's my positive note. Jump.
Okay.
Yeah.
Get to it. Get to your goals. Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll go with that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's just, we don't have a choice if it's hard, you know what I mean? We have the choice to embrace it and overcome it, you know what I mean? That's the thing, we're given that God-given ability, the grace to overcome anything we face, and he works in it for our good, and that's the thing. I mean, it's gonna be hard either way, but this way you can attack it a little better with perspective and the Holy Spirit.
Heck yeah. I think if you're gonna make, well, not if you're gonna make, because life's just hard in general, but if it is going to be hard, you might as well make something out of it. Like, I mean, life's gonna be rough for everyone. Everyone's gonna go through trials and tribulations, so make it worth it. Make it worth the lessons and the pain that may come from it.
Rejoice in your trials.
Amen. Well, I think that wraps it up for us here at Can I? In the camera, I got a burp. Excuse me. No, but
Scared.
always a pleasure having you guys join us. And we'll see you in 7 days. 6 days.
5,
5.
4, 3.
4, 3, 2, 1. We're out.